Well, first it was a huge honor and a huge privilege. I was really thrilled. I could not believe it at first when I heard it. To know that my students had nominated me and then that such a prestigious jury has chosen me from all the peers around the world was amazing. A prestigious award from the Case Center with these great students and jury selecting me, I was really, really thrilled. But then I thought, I'm really fortunate, right? I'm fortunate on many dimensions. First, on my colleagues, right? So I've been privileged to be in institutions with great teachers throughout my career. And that was really important because ultimately, by watching all these world-class teachers, I learned a lot from them, even if they were from different disciplines. I was watching teachers in marketing, in operations, in leadership, in accounting, and I learned so much from each one of them. That's the first thing. I was really privileged and fortunate in my career. Then another thing that I thought was, well, I had great students throughout my career, and the impact on them and the impact on me, because I always learned a lot from my students. Without them, nothing would be possible. I work every day for them. Sometimes I know that I'm also too tough and I push them too much and I cold call too much, but ultimately I think it's for their own benefit. And I learn a lot from them. Every day I learn a lot from my students, and so that's the second thing. I was very fortunate throughout my career. The final thing is the amazing people we have around us, because I think ultimately our faculty's job is quite easy when we have great support staff around. From the faculty assistants to the research assistants to program coordinators, all are key for our success, all allow us to focus on our job, which becomes much easier when we have this support network, which includes many people that we don't see on a day-to-day basis, includes security people, operations, cleaning, audiovisuals, IT, alumni relations. Ultimately, they make our life very easy, and I'm very thankful for all these fantastic people around me. Well, I think several dimensions. First, I think cases really raise action and put participants in action mode, and that's really important for successful learning and insightful learning. Because when you're in decision mode, it's not just about content, because content, you can read a book. You can get all the content in the world in a book or in the internet. But what you want is really knowledge, real insights, and you get that through real-world experience and through actions. Cases are also great to discuss broader topics, not just the technical topic of the day. I can be teaching an IPO case about a Brazilian company or an activism case of a Japanese company. And yes, we do talk about the technical side, the discussion, the cost of capital, the valuation and all that. But we can also talk about many important managerial other topics like external relationships, the government roles, stakeholders, how to make a company run with a financial strategy behind. And all these things are really important in the real world, which is about the integration. So that's the first thing that really, I think it's really inspiring about the case method, is the ability to integrate across disciplines. In my particular case, I teach mostly finance, and it's very important because finance does not have to be boring, right? And finance is not about what many people think it's lots of acronyms. No, finance is very suitable for case teaching, and particularly if you're able to integrate finance with other disciplines, people see the real benefit, because ultimately it's about taking better decisions. That's what all managers need to do, take better decisions, and finance is just tools. That, by the way, they use the common currency across all the other disciplines, all the functions in a company, which is cash, money, and accounting for value, ultimately. And cases allow the integration of all that. So that critical thinking skills, which are more and more relevant in today's world, I think it's a fundamental thing of cases. The other thing is that they're very flexible for different audiences, because we can do cases and they accommodate very different knowledges in the same audience, but also across classrooms. I've used successfully cases with younger students or with CFOs and CEOs of large listed companies, and it's okay. MBA students or senior executives, it works. Of course, you have to prepare sessions differently because their knowledge is different, their objectives are different, their challenges are different. But the case is very flexible and allows you to cater to those different audiences. Then the last thing, I think cases can be brought to life, and I use that a lot with real actors. So I bring real participants in cases quite much to my classes. I use videos a lot. I love cases in general, and even in my books, when I write books, I put mini cases in there because I think they really bring the theory and the empirical evidence to light. Well, I don't think there is a unique secret, and I think each person has its own tactics. I think first you have to be authentic, and each one of us is different, so what I'm going to say works for me doesn't have to work for everybody. But I think, for me at least, number one is preparation. I mean, I prepare a lot all the sessions, very well, very scripted, all the details. And even after the sessions, I reflect always, and I try to improve. What worked, what didn't work, questions, the reactions to the questions by the audience, the timing of the session. And this is not when I teach a case for the first time. And even if it is a case I wrote and I taught it for 15 times, after each session I always have some insights, some learnings and some improvements for next time. So after each session I dedicate some time to think about what can be done better, what worked very well with this audience or not. That's the second thing. Know your audience. It's very, very important to know your audience, their experience, their issues and their challenges. So you have to plan very carefully the flow of the sessions, the ups and downs, mixing pedagogical techniques according to the audience you're using. I've used, in the case discussion, simulations, quizzes, Kahoots, buzz groups, lots of different techniques, bringing in news, bringing videos, related events. I think I like to blend also cases with lots of other different pedagogical techniques in the classroom. And then I think it's questions. I mean, you have to think about questions that promote disagreement. Often in cases you don't have a right answer. You know, a good case doesn't have a unique answer. And the good questions should promote some disagreement. Reasonable people should be able to disagree on some aspects of the case discussion, and that's very good for learning. So bring out different points of view. As I said, personally, I think that's very important, and experiential learning, I think you learn by doing and by having to commit yourself, sharing your views, and sometimes being wrong. That helps you navigate the complex realities of the world, ultimately. When I talk to my students from 10 years ago, I'm not sure they fully remember the formula for the WACC or how to value a stock option or how to do a free cash flow model from beginning to end. But they told me they took away very valuable learnings, and they remember sometimes, and they say, that day, that case, I remember it was very valuable, allowed me to do X, Y, Z later on in my career. So I think that's, again, the power of cases. It's not about memorizing one formula, it's about integrating and taking valuable learnings. Well, that's a great question, and as a finance professor, I never dare about making predictions, particularly about the future. But I think the key features of case and case method are valid everywhere, and they will be valid all the time. As I said before, I mean, I've used cases successfully for different regions of the world, different experiences, different backgrounds, and I think that is always going to continue. But of course the world evolves, and so do your audiences, and you have to take that into account. For instance, we have digital natives, we have younger audiences, so our kids are going to be future participants in executive education programs. So what does that mean? I think we have to go for shorter cases on average, more action-oriented cases, and I think the 30-page cases are gone. I think cases need to allow for much more experiential learning. And for instance, the switch to online learning that we all experienced during the pandemic, although we have returned to campus nowadays, hybrid teaching is going to continue, and blended programs are going to be a reality forever. Whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, part of our delivery and part of our engagement with companies or participants or students is going to be online. And so we have to think about how that changes our delivery of cases successfully. I think that's an important dimension, is how you deliver. It's not so much about how you write the case, it's about the delivery of the case. Then in the particular case of finance, I think finance cases and financial literacy are more important than ever. And I think finance has a big role to play. We continue to see people investing in things they don't understand and losing money. We see CFOs taking structured, complex financing vehicles for their companies. They don't fully grasp the risks that they're bringing into the balance sheet. And ultimately, seeing through cases, people losing money, companies being destroyed, I think it's very insightful and ultimately can make you learn, can make you prevent yourself from losing money in the future, and can save jobs for the companies you manage.